Yo guys, welcome back. Today, I'm going to be predicting where every single big free agent will land in this 2020 NHL offseason. Now, when it comes to this offseason and this free agency, there are a ton of fantastic players, especially when it comes to the goaltending. There's going to be a lot of options on the market. But with the flat cap coming into effect in these next couple of years and the free agent market kind of being stuffed, there's going to be a lot of interesting deals and a lot of surprises, I think, with this free agency. But where do I see the top guys signing in this class, and what will their contracts end up looking like? Watch till the end for all my predictions and picks, and of course, hit that big red subscribe button for more videos just like this one. Now we're going to start out with the biggest fish in the free agency, that being Alex Pietrangelo from the St. Louis Blues. Now obviously you saw him in a Leafs jersey in the thumbnail, but although it would be freaking sweet if that happened, I'm not sure if it goes down. To me, if I had to predict one place for him to go to, I think he will re-sign with the St. Louis Blues. We saw the Jake Allen trade getting rid of more than $4 million of cap space. I think that'll definitely help. Although the Vince Dunn contract will be a doozy for St. Louis, that'll be also another big priority to get done. I still think they will get Pietrangelo on the books. It's been reported even since that trade that they haven't made much progress, but I wouldn't be too worried if I was a Blues fan, which I'm definitely not. They still have a month to go, pretty much, and more until free agency. A lot of time to negotiate, and I think they will get a deal done. I think the deal will be $10 million on the dot for 7 more years. Now we get into arguably the best forward in this free agency class, a guy that sometimes is the best, sometimes is very disappointing. Taylor Hall. Now, Taylor Hall is one of the most interesting ones. Obviously, still the Arizona Coyotes right now, and the Coyotes have made bids to try and get him back. But with the whole rebuild thing that they've been open about pretty much, the chances of Taylor Hall actually signing there, I think, are a little bit slim. I think he goes to the free agent market, goes to the open markets, and I think will sign with the Colorado Avalanche, $8 million for 2 years. I see Taylor Hall as one of those big guys that's going to get a short-term deal, mostly due to his inconsistency, but again, also with that flat cap. Colorado, though, a great team, could use Taylor Hall, maybe even on that right wing, possibly. We'll see what they do. Maybe they switch Burakovsky to the right wing and have Taylor Hall on that left side with Nazem Kadri. But I feel like with Colorado, that's some added strength for their top six, and if they don't win the cup this season, it doesn't even matter. If they were to get a Taylor Hall type contract for another 2 years, that adds to their already amazing forward group, and I think Taylor Hall would be a guy that would want to sign there, even if it is short term. Now going on to another free agent that's a little bit puzzling to decide where he will end up, that being Torey Krug of the Boston Bruins. Now Krug is an excellent power play, excellent offense defenseman who has some great skill, and although I think he's going to get overpaid and will have a little bit too many years on his contract coming up, I think that's a guy that where he goes will absolutely change the offense, and I think will be a great guy to add to a power play. Boston would obviously love to keep him, but I just don't think that's in the cards, especially of what he will ask. I think he's going to ask upwards of $7.5 million, and for a lot of years. And I don't think Boston is going to want to get that done. We have heard some rumors about Torey Krug going back to his hometown team in the Detroit Red Wings, and I think Detroit is one of the few teams that actually has the cap space, actually has the security, and actually has the money to go after a guy like Torey Krug, and honestly, I see him landing in Detroit. Yes, they are the worst team in the NHL right now, but if Torey Krug wants security, if he wants a bunch of years, Detroit is really one of the few teams that can actually give it to him, and being in his hometown in Michigan, obviously I think will help. I think he will sign for $7.5 million for 8 years. Steve Yzerman bringing in a big-time defenseman to help out that future. Even though he is in his late 20s, that's a guy that I still think can be on that team when they are finally on the up and up, and Torey Krug obviously will make that team a whole lot better. Now going on to the best goaltender in the class. No, not Braden Holtby. What are you thinking? It's, of course, Jacob Markstrom. Now, Jacob Markstrom, weirdly with Vancouver, kind of a weird situation there with Thatcher Demko looking so good. But when it comes to Jacob Markstrom, whatever happens with Vancouver, I think he will go into free agency and will get a big payday outside of the Vancouver Canucks. I think for him, it might be a little bit of a hot take, but I see, well, no pun intended, I see the Calgary Flames signing him as their long long-term starter. It might be a mistake for the Vancouver Canucks, but for the Calgary Flames, it would be an instant upgrade over anybody they've got for a very long time. I think the contract will be $7 million for 7 years. Again, that job security, that 7-year deal will be huge, I think, for Markstrom. That's what I think he'll want first and foremost, is that long-term deal. I think Calgary is one of those only teams that can actually set him up for that, actually have some cap space after guys like Smith and Talbot go off their deals, and actually be able to use him as their big-time starter, and he will definitely be relied upon. Milan Lucic and Jacob Markstrom on the same team. That's pretty cool. Now on to one of the big-time forwards in this class as well. We have Mike Hoffman from the Florida Panthers. And if you're looking for a big-time power play specialist who can transform your power play, Mike Hoffman certainly is it. And I think for the Buffalo Sabres, he will be their big-time ad. That's a guy who could already instantly be on that top six. Could even play on the left wing of a guy like Jack Eichel, maybe on the second line, who knows. But I feel like with Mike Hoffman, that's a guy that can really bring some big-time firepower for Buffalo as well, alongside Jeff Skinner, two excellent goal scorers, and I think will transform that power play into something much better than it was this past season. I think the deal will look like $7.2 million for 3 years. I don't see Hoffman getting a long-term deal really anywhere, but 3 years at 7.2, I think he'll definitely take down a Buffalo. Then going on to maybe, besides Markstrom, the best goaltender in the class, that being Robin Lehner from the Vegas Golden Knights. And there was the situation of where he would re-sign, what's going to happen with Marc-Andre Fleury. Personally, I think they will re-sign Robin Lehner, trade Marc-Andre Fleury to somewhere else, but again, re-sign Lehner as the long-term goalie. I see that contract looking like a $6.5 million deal for 6 more years. And although Robin Lehner is getting maybe up there a little bit in age, he is in his late 20s. I don't think it's anything to worry about yet, and I think a 6-year deal is pretty much perfect for him, and that's exactly what I think he'll want. Then going on to one of the most confusing free agents here, Tyson Barrie from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I had a tough time nailing down who would actually want him, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that will actually want him, like, at all. I think if he's going to get a contract here, it's going to be for a 1-year deal, a prove-it, try-out deal, and I think that's what he's going to get on this open market. I really don't see him getting even more than 2 years, really, in free agency. I see him going to the Philadelphia Flyers, a little bit of an experiment there, but I see them signing him for $3 million for 1 deal, or 1 year. I see him as the type of guy who can be on that third pairing, be more of a power play guy as well for Philly, but maybe be alongside a Robert Hagg or whoever they have. You have the top 2 pairings already secured, Niskanen and Provorov, and Myers and Sanheim, but you have Tyson Barrie on that third pairing, and again, on the power play. It's a little bit of a try-me deal, see what happens, but I really don't see Tyson Barrie getting anything other than that. Now going on to a goaltender in Braden Holtby. I really don't want to say he's the best or even close to it, because honestly he really hasn't been over the past few seasons, but I think Braden Holtby is a guy that could rebound on a different team. For me, there's a lot of teams that would want his services. Obviously a Stanley Cup champion adds to his resume. I personally don't think he's going to get a big long-term deal. I think a team like the Buffalo Sabres are going to give him $3 million, or actually 3 years, for $6.5 million, on top of Mike Hoffman spending big in goaltending, and I don't think Buffalo would want long-term either. Obviously, Lucas Ullmark is looking more and more ready, and I think Braden Holtby will be the guy that's kind of the, I don't know, kind of the stopping block for Ullmark. Once Braden Holtby is out of that team, Ullmark will be in his prime, and I think that Buffalo will transition. But right now, I think they will go for Holtby, go for a big name, and I really only see a few teams that can actually give Holtby what he wants. 6.5, maybe even too much for him at this point, but I think he will still get paid in this free agency, just like Robin Lehner. Then going on to Florida Panthers forward Evgeny Dadov, and I could see the Florida Panthers keeping Dadov opposed to Mike Hoffman, but I think this is going to be a rare move this offseason by the New Jersey Devils, and I think they will sign him for $5.5 million for the next 3 years. Now, just like Holtby, I don't see Dadov getting a huge long-term deal, or just like Hoffman. I see him getting 3 years. I think that takes him until he's 34, so pretty much the sweet spot there. But I think New Jersey obviously has a good, at least recently, good pass with Russians, besides Ilya Kovalchuk. We look at guys like Nikita Gusev on that team. I think a guy like Dadov would fit quite well in terms of skilled, talented talented wingers, I think that guy would fit right home, and you put him alongside a Hughes or a Hischier, especially on the power play, I think he'll get the job done. And I'm not sure if many actual contending teams will want to go after him. That's why I kind of see New Jersey making a big move to get him in free agency and use that cap space well. Then going on to Tyler Toffoli, and obviously the Vancouver Canucks, he's been a big part of that team when he is healthy. And with Jacob Markstrom out and to the Calgary Flames in this scenario, I see the Canucks still keeping Tyler Toffoli. Now, I think it might be a little bit of an overpayment, but it's been rumored that they value him a lot, even more than a guy like Brock Besser, and I think they will get him at a $5.5 million contract for 5 years. I think Toffoli's going to look for job security first and foremost, and personally, I don't like the contract that much, but I think it's got what Vancouver will end up paying for him. And Toffoli still is a very talented top six winger, can provide some value, and already has for the Canucks, so it makes sense to keep him. Then going on to TJ Brodie from the Calgary Flames, a guy who I liked a lot this year for Calgary. I think had a career year, and I think that's the type of guy that will get paid quite well in free agency, and I think could get upwards of $6 million. The team I look for in the TJ Brodie sweepstakes is the Winnipeg Jets, a team that can really use a more defensive style defenseman who can really shut down the door, which is what TJ Brodie did for the Flames this season. Obviously, as a free agent, I don't think Calgary's going to be able to keep him. I think that's one of the main guys they will let go, but I think Winnipeg will love to have him. I think it's going to be a $6 million contract for 4 more years, get him around the time where I'm pretty sure Scheifele will end his contract the same year as that contract would. So you get that on the books, but a great, solid defenseman who can provide some good value for them. I think that's a defenseman that they really do need, and Winnipeg could definitely use. Then going on to the last goaltender I'll mention here today, that being Anton Khudobin from the Dallas Stars, and as a Stars fan, it would really suck to see Dobby leave this team, but I think that's what is going to happen. Unless they somehow were able to trade a couple of players, or maybe even trade Ben Bishop, I do not know how Khudobin stays on this team, especially after his postseason, which in all fairness was pretty fantastic, all things considered. I think that's that type of guy that will get a starter job in the NHL, and I think the San Jose Sharks will be the team to give it to him. It might not be for too long since he is 34 years old, but I see a 2-year deal at $5 million, $750K, I think less than Martin Jones, but they have the cap space for the next 2 years. I think they go out for a big goaltender and swing, and we'll see what happens. Then going on to the last free agent I'll mention here today, in the last prediction, I have Sammy Vatanen, and obviously I had Pietrangelo on the Leafs, but I think there's another defenseman, that being Sammy Vatanen, who the Toronto Maple Leafs will go after very hard in this free agency, and I think Toronto will end up getting him. I think the contract will be $4.5 million for the next 2 years, a very solid contract, all things considered, for a guy like Vatanen, who I think in his NHL career has been pretty fantastic thus far for Anaheim, for New Jersey, and in his limited time in Carolina. I think that's pretty much the perfect defenseman that Toronto needs. Although he's not absolutely amazing defensively, he is pretty much perfect, I think, alongside of Morgan Rielly, which is what I think Toronto will go after. A defenseman to pair with Morgan Rielly, and I think Sammy Vatanen can be that. Epic, just an insanely great transitional game, and I think that's the type of guy that Toronto can definitely badly use on that left side, a guy who can play in that area and do well for Toronto, which is not easy to do. In terms of a few other free agents I want to mention that I think will end up re-signing with their teams, we got Mikael Granlund, Craig Smith from the Nashville Predators, Corey Crawford from the Chicago Blackhawks, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So there is still some other free agents I can mention. You can leave them in the comments and I'll try and predict for you if I can get to your comments, but those are my predictions here today. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you agree and disagree with? Let me know who you think these players are going to go to and what the contracts might look like too. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you enjoyed today. Share this video with your friends, get it out there, and click on this card right here to watch all of my predictions right in one playlist. My name is Nathan. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Goodbye.